I went through ups and downs in my body that first 10 years. And I think that not talking about it enabled me to process faster because I didn't make a thing of it. And I was already doing a lot of sitting practice, so I could kind of see the way that concepts interacted with the tissues. And especially as my emotional body like started to become conscious, I would see like how much grief and pity and fear would come up around tweaks in the body. And I could kind of start to decompose that and be with it, but also totally accept it and not try to change it. So I had to just be with whatever pain arose as I learned for second and third series, like in Los Angeles. What I want to talk about is having injury as a teacher. In 2011, I went home with this like ability, an ability from the support of my teacher in Mysore to let go of the academic world. Like no way without his support would that have been able, like I've been able to do that. And within 6 weeks, I had a major injury. I actually injured myself assisting because my consciousness was in my students' bodies. And this is a total freshman mistake, right? I'd just been authorized, I was just getting into it, like very enthusiastic and also so devoted to their experience. And I herniated S1L5 really, really badly. Luckily in Mysore, you can walk off the street and get an MRI for $200. And so over time, I've been able to see the physical level manifestation of that injury as scar tissue and also watch it break up and disappear as the pain leaves the body. You know, there are many layers of samskara when that happens, and it's emotional, it's superconscious, it's spiritual, and it's also like a physical bit of calcified tissue laying up against the nerve in the lower back. Over the course of pretty much 2 long trips to Mysore, I was in a lot of pain as I recovered from that. And with my students, at first I didn't want them to know what I was going through, but then I had to kind of relax that boundary and be like, this practice can heal, you know, and my suffering is not only private. And up until then, I'd been really concerned about the ways that we telegraph injury into others. And so if somebody goes through something and has no boundaries about it, just spews it all over, the empathetic people among us will pick that up, you know, and I have a lot of really empathetic students, so I want to be careful about like not communicating harm and not communicating suffering where it's just my stuff. But at the same time, for them to see me go through 2 years of like some practices being just sitting and then learning intelligently to create space within the body. It's like, okay, well, you know, practice is gonna dial down now for the rest of my life. For a couple of years, that was my experience. And, you know, luckily, that's just my experience.
So what did you do?
Rolled out my mat and would sit in Dandasana at first. Because anything else would not have been ahimsa. Yeah, ahimsa is the first principle of this path. Yeah. And then satya. Yeah. And getting real clear that there's not a lot of space to compromise on those fundamentals when anybody might be looking over their shoulder to see how is Angela engaging with her practice, really kept me honest. I actually am not one to visualize the practice. A lot of people have said that. Yeah. They count themselves to the practice and they breathe through the practice and use it as a concentration piece. For me, I sit with the energy and I breathe. And I just, it'll be maybe some breathing with sound, but also just mula bandha for maybe 90 minutes. Really? Yeah. And I do think that that's healing. Yeah. I really do. And not for everyone. I mean, many of my students do not practice every day. And that is fine with me. Everybody has their own place in the like trajectory of life that they come to the practice from. Students who stay on the path are those who have figured out like how to be gentle, how not to do the all or nothing practice. A lot of us Ashtangis, we are all or nothing people. And we've got to learn to show up with gentleness and with a lot of presence and without expectation. because we will burn out. You know, you cannot sustain that kind of immature devotion for very long, because the body will push back. And it's wonderful kind of to learn that that's not a problem.